Hey guys, welcome back to Lab Insider. I have here with me Gideon Ashworth and Sam Weeks from Bart Ingredients. We're here to ask some general questions and get some very specific answers. Take it away, Sam. Where do you see these innovations going?
I think for me, we're going to see, looking at authenticity specific for us, where products are being made synthetically and trying to find out how we can compare them to the ones that are made naturally. So a lot of these products can't be seen under normal testing because it's the same material. So a lot of NMR is being used. So in honey authenticity and turmeric authenticity, looking at the curcumin content and looking at the fact that if it's made synthetically in the lab, carbon-13 isn't going to be there. And so that they'll stand out and be recognized as authentic or not authentic.
Sam, if you don't mind telling us, how do you think the lab will look like in 5 years' time?
I think we'll see a lot more benchtop examination or equipment, because as we've progressed and things are getting smaller and smaller, you won't have to outsource to some of these labs where they have full benchtop equipment. We'll be able to quickly look at a result and be able to see whether there is anything stand out or not without going to a lab and getting a full accredited result.
How well do you think labs are prepared for the COVID pandemic?
I think for us, it's not just the COVID, it was a Brexit at the same time. It's the two combined together. Although if everybody didn't panic, like with the shops, we would have been completely fine. But it's the fact that they've panicked at the same time. So everybody held off sending tests earlier on the pandemic because they thought we can push it down the line. And now specifically, we're seeing a lot of delays in labs where they've had a lot of NPD samples from so like new product development, have been all pushed now. So everybody's making all these new products for Christmas and they're all getting pushed through and they're trying to force them through, and it's really clogging up the labs. So that's the major problem we've seen with the delays.
We're looking at major pushes by people, very, very unreasonable demands from the market.
Yeah, and I think it's not just one company. Everybody's pushed back on doing things, and now everybody wants it. They can't push it back indefinitely. And seeing this, and then there's a problem of getting stuff to Europe for some specific testing, where ports in Germany are holding up samples. So a lot of meat samples having to have special new forms that we haven't seen before. So there's a lot of that built up on top of each other, keeps piling up.
When it comes to these changes, I think you've already almost answered the question. What do you think needs to change?
I think specifically between governments and labs, it needs to be more clarity on things. I think giving us unfair timescales to work to get things changed and not giving us a little bit of a grace period. I know there was a little bit of one, but we went from having one set of rules to a new one, and giving some leeway on more samples and stuff like that would be better and more beneficial for all of us.
Do you have any recommended readings or any industry publications that people should get into if they want to know more about these rogue samples and issues in supply chains?
I think there are a number of publications that to keep your eye on. And there's a lot online that you can subscribe to now, and it's free. It doesn't cost anyone anything, and depending on which country you're in, helps as well. So I think that New Food. Obviously, I'm involved with New Food, so I'm going to say New Food. There's an awful lot of good publications on there that are very on point. There's the actual magazine that you get to read, which is pretty old school nowadays. But there's also the online articles, which are constantly updated, whether you're following their email updates or just looking at their website every now and again. There's also I've got to recommend just being on LinkedIn and following individuals, following organizations on LinkedIn, because it's the little snippets of industry news that you can get from somebody liking something or sharing something or just sharing their opinion. So I think LinkedIn, for all its faults and frustrations, is actually really good for gaining that real-time industry update knowledge, especially when you are, you're working in a lab on your own or with your small team, or you're working within a company or working from home as we we, a lot of us have been. So LinkedIn's really good. Look, and it depends, I think, as well, sort of how geeky you are and how much you want to get into a specific subject. If I really get in a role with something and I want to understand, then I'll start looking at the literature, and I'll try and find someone who still has connections in universities like Sam to actually get me the full article rather than just reading the new synopsis of it. So there's an awful lot. And I'm not going to say anything too specific, but just widen your scope. Don't stick to one thing that you're going to read. There's so many good articles out there now for all sorts. There's so many good people to follow, and organisations to be involved with or to follow on social media or whatever you want to call it nowadays.
What kind of advice would you give for lab managers in today's volatile economy?
I think for me, the major one is making sure you have connections with other laboratory managers. You're not going to be able to pick up everything on your own, and being able to have good relationships with other people who can see a problem from a different perspective or have different experiences is really, really important.
I like that. Widen your connections and have allies. Guys, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much.
Max.
Join us on Lab Insider for more innovations, automations, and experimentations. Remember, innovations are just a click away.